From years of anxiety to warrior and mentor, Bradley Robinson created the Anxiety Project to help you end your anxiety naturally. Let's mold the new you and let's end anxiety together.
Hello and welcome to episode 166 of the Anxiety Project podcast. I am your host, Brad Robinson. If you don't know by now, I am a certified CBT and NLP anxiety coach. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. And I coach others who are struggling from health anxiety, hypochondria, agoraphobia, afraid of leaving their homes and having an illness or having a heart attack out from their safe zone, losing control, and the uncertainty that plagues the anxiety sufferer, and someone suffering from guilt, shame, trauma. If things have gotten so beyond you that you're having a hard time regaining that order and that control, this is the podcast for you. This channel is for you. I talk about anxiety recovery. I talk about the techniques and strategies to organize and get back into an empowering life, that we all have this internal power within us and we can harness it if we follow certain guidelines, we follow certain routines, structure, empowering patterns to get us to harness that internal power and to heal, right? That's the important word here, to heal ourselves. So thank you for joining me on today's podcast. If you're new, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Anxiety Project. I post weekly videos there that'll help you to regain that order in your life, that structure, and to heal from all of this chaos. And I post the podcast there as well, so you can listen to the podcast and all of my meditation videos there on the YouTube channel. Today, we're talking about the anxiety checklist. If you're suffering from anxiety, we all do at some point in our lives. And if you're waking up in the morning, struggling to get out of bed, struggling to deal with all of this uncertainty, then this is a great podcast to listen to, episode, because in this episode, I'm going over the checklist anxiety sufferers check off every day that fits with their normal. Even if their normal is anxious, they're checking off certain expectations. So let's talk about that. But before, I want to go over your comments on last week's episode, which I talked about the power and the influence of having a mentor in your life. Sammy85 says, I notice myself acting like the other people I hang out with. Very true, Sammy. I noticed that with my negative friend in the past. Also, if I am with someone long enough, I begin to hear their voice inside my head instead of mine. So true that you are who you hang around. Absolutely, Sammy. Thank you for the comment. Quen says, the more time I spend listening to teachers with tons of wisdom, the more I feel empowered, that I'm not wasting the day, but growing towards something bigger. Absolutely. Lowry says, you continue to produce such meaningful content, Brad. Can't tell you how many paradigm shifts I have had while listening to your podcast. Life-changing. Thank you so much. I'm so proud and grateful that this content resonates with you. And I remember when I started the podcast, I was just this guy going through the film industry, working on myself through this anxiety recovery, climbing this ginormous mountain that I never thought I would be climbing in the past, overcoming this extreme, debilitating health anxiety, and then feeling this drive to help other people who might be struggling, because I found ways through my studies with NLP, CBT, and the coaches that I adopted in the past, finding the path and answers and these paradigm shifts within myself and feeling that drive to help other people overcome those challenges. So I'm so grateful that what I've done so far with my content, with my coaching, my videos, that it resonates with you. It means the world. So let's get into this episode all about your anxiety checklist. And what I mean by anxiety checklist is the meeting of already set outcomes every time you start your day, expected patterns, things that repeat every day. For example, if you get a strange sensation every day and your habit is to react with strong emotion to that feeling, then your mind will focus and attend to that sensation every day. Because that's your habit. It's what you expect. You expect to feel anxious when you wake up. You expect to feel anxious when you're driving to work. You expect that sensation to be present because it's been a part of your life for a long time. Or if the sensation is not there, then the mind will find another sensation to latch onto and obsess about, because that's your programming, the constant obsession over particular feelings. If you have been anxious for a long time, then your normal is anxiety. That is your normal. People want to stick to what's familiar because that's all they know. They are in their known world. That's why it's hard for people to change and shift their lifestyle. Do you know that person, or it could be yourself, who you just want to grab and shake and say, why the hell don't you just stop that nasty habit and get a clue? Well, to get a clue requires that person to step outside of what's comfortable to them, and that's nothing but uncomfortable. That's why all the self-help gurus out there, they say pain is necessary. Pain is the way. Wim Hof says, the cold is my teacher. In other words, exposing yourself to that extreme cold, that extreme pain, he learns. And that's interesting because pain is necessary for any growth to occur. We are always resistant to that pain. Anxiety is what? Threat of pain. So you are about to jump into that cold shower. What do? You do whatever you can not to go into that cold shower. You'll procrastinate, you'll walk around, you'll clean your house, you'll brush your teeth, you'll lean over the sink thinking about things and not go into that cold shower. But pain is necessary. So that's really interesting. Anywhere outside your comfort zone is where you gather new information that will build upon your already existing foundation. Because if nothing is working for you now, then you are not stepping out into the places that you least want to venture. Clinical psychologist Carl Jung says, what you need to find is located where you least want to look. You see that even in the mythological stories like Harry Potter. Harry Potter is the archetypal hero, but where does he look to find the answers to the Chamber of Secrets? It's in the bathroom, the place where you least want to look. Do you remember in Trainspotting where Ewan McGregor goes down the toilet? There's so much meaning behind that, right? In Alice in Wonderland, down that deep, dark hole is another world. It opens up to a different dimension. Different information gathers. You are a different person after the adventure. You're Bilbo Baggins before, who's a weak Shire dweller, who's very conservative and set in his ways. But after the adventure, he comes back as a different person altogether. Everything, his foundation is different. He's discovered so many parts of himself that he never knew existed before. And he looks at himself as somebody who's this heroic person that is capable of much more. So what does an anxiety checklist look like? If you're suffering from anxiety, here's the checklist that I would check off daily that fit with my normal. Well, when I wake up, I'm going to feel exhausted. That's what I was expecting. When I wake up, I'm going to feel that sensation. I must talk to my family about how I feel. I must Google the symptom to make sure it isn't what I think it is. And so you already have this idea when it comes to Google about what it is, the worst case scenario, because you're so hyper-focused over it. I think it's something serious, and Google, what does it do? It pops up with the worst case scenario, and that heightens your anxiety. The next thing on the checklist could be, I must avoid any challenging tasks at work today. I must avoid any conversation or social situations where I might act awkwardly. I must have everything that happens to me go as planned, or I will burst into anger. For example, the coffee drive-through must be typical in its length of time to get that coffee. If you show up there and it's backed up, you lose it because you're not going to get your coffee and you might be late and the negative thoughts go on and on. I must solve the question of why I feel this strange sensation. I must not make any mistakes at work. I must have my family or friends at the ready to rescue me if I feel panicky. I must be in control. I must be certain. I must be in my safe zone. I must get home as soon as I can. I must distract myself with my favorite programs on TV. I must get the sleep I need so I am well rested to operate effectively tomorrow. And once you start to notice that you're not getting to sleep right away, you start to feel anxiety, your mind races, and then it's 2 a.m. and you're still awake. So that's the typical checklist of somebody suffering from anxiety. Their glass is full. They are 100% emotionally charged. If uncertainty pops up, if any obstacle presents itself, then they will overflow and they will lose it. So if this checklist is your normal, you must disrupt this pattern by shifting your lifestyle around. You must start to break patterns, habits that activate your rest and digest system will help you. Changing the amount of work that you have in the day, adding that sacred time in the mornings or in the evenings, sitting and getting to know yourself, taking a course on anxiety, reading books about anxiety, learning about what is going on internally, learning from other people who overcame the same challenges you're going through. Exercising for longer periods of time, even though you feel the pain and discomfort while you exercise. One thing I discovered about myself when I started to push myself when it came to physical activity was that I can feel all of these strange, uncomfortable sensations while I work out, but still survive. Anxiety sufferers love to quit and give up when they feel the lightheadedness, the dizziness, or the pain and discomfort. Meditation, those walks out in nature, reading instead of watching TV, sitting with your own mind, getting to know yourself. And it's through pain and suffering where you get to know yourself. When we're distracted by all of this content, how do you know who you are? How do you know who you are? What your mind is like? What is going on internally? It's so easy to suppress and put band-aids on all of these feelings. It's painful to sit with yourself and ask really important questions, to clean up, to take on responsibilities, to venture out into the environment that makes you feel panicky. But aren't you the hero of your own story? And to be the hero, you have to do what's painful because that's what's outside of your comfort zone. Pain is what's outside of what's familiar. Disciplining the internal chatter in your mind is crucial. So how do you discipline the internal chatter? Well, just by spending more time with yourself is one way. Disciplining yourself with cold showers, meditation, lessening your TV and phone time helps with your internal chatter, but also engaging in that internal voice that says, I reject this thought. If it kills me, let it kill me. So what? So what? Add more order to your chaotic normal. That is the proper path forward. And that's where I'm going to leave you in this podcast episode. Remember, someone suffering from anxiety is in too much chaos. And too much order is not good either, as you see with Bilbo Baggins. Because when you're in too much order in the Shire, anything unknown that pops up will cause extreme anxiety. But too much chaos, you're already in the thick of anxiety. So where's the proper path? It's between order and chaos. To have a routine, to have discipline, but to also venture outside of what's familiar, reading new books, engaging in new courses online, meditation courses, doing meditations, going and getting Reiki sessions, going and getting, I don't know, anything, a massage even, doing what's not familiar to you, going and spending time in the bathtub, reading a book, things that aren't normal to you. You're going to find that these new activities, these new lifestyle changes are necessary to help manage all of life's uncertainty. So what do you do every day to manage life's uncertainty? Or do you just live in that uncertainty? And well, that's when my clients come and see me, is when there's so much uncertainty, it's too much to bear. And that's where I'm going to leave you today. Thank you so much for being here. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a comment and review of this podcast on iTunes. I would greatly appreciate that. And lastly, do not let anxiety define who you are. I will see you on the next podcast. Bye for now.
Brad's powerful anxiety recovery program is now available at unpluganxiety.com. The Anxiety Project program is downloadable and puts the power of anxiety recovery in your own hands. Visit unpluganxiety.com for more details. Recovery